Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the September 3rd, 2021 Walton County Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. If you all might stand for the invocation and the pledge to allegiance. Our Heavenly Father, we ask your oversight and guidance in our proceedings this evening to do the best for our county. We ask this in Lord's name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We would like to thank everyone in attendance here tonight, the county staff, attorney, and we have a few announcements to make that may affect some of the folks here in attendance. First, our board is made up of 7 members, of which only 4 are here tonight. As per our code, there must be a majority vote for either approval or denial for a variance request or an appeal, in which case, being as we only have 4 members here tonight, that vote must be unanimous amongst us. So if any of you might be here as an applicant and would like to continue to when we have more members or a full board, that is your option to do so. But I want it clearly understood that any and all appeals or variances heard tonight must have the approving vote of all 4 of us to pass. And okay. Do we have any announcements, Mr. Dykes?
Yeah. There is one announcement. I know Mr. Johnson's not here tonight, and I'll get with him. I was hoping he was going to be here, but you may remember the case that was James Hayden, where they appealed the decision. That was one where the judge locally had ruled that the county had kind of given the reins over to Mr. Shipman, and that shouldn't have been allowed. So that was appealed. Mr. Shipman's office actually appealed that to the First District Court of Appeals. We got that ruling in on September 15th, and the First District Court of Appeals upheld Judge Lewis's decision. Has no real effect on us as a board today because we've been handling it that way already. When we had Judge Lewis's opinion, we kind of shifted where the county, before would just say, we have somebody here in opposition and they're going to all. With Mr. Hall and staff, they realize now they got to take a more proactive, approach to the county side of it. So on our day-to-day operating for this board, we operate the way we have been. So that's the only report. The only thing with that is that case will eventually come back before this board for rehearing. So you'll see it come back up. But outside of that, that's the only legal announcement that I have for the board tonight.
All right, thank you. I understand that we do have some items that have been requested to continue. Mr. Schoen, would you like to list those, or?
Yes, item number 2, the Townsend variance. There is a request to continue. The property owner has to do a few other things before he's ready to come before the board. So he's asking to be continued to October 28th.
Okay. Should we vote on these all at once, or?
I would probably just do them separately. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
pardon me. All right, what would be the board's wishes? Motion to continue?
Make a motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to continue is granted.
Is anybody in the audience here for that?
I don't believe so. I've not seen the applicant. I don't believe so.
Okay.
Number 4, the Sigler variance. there is a request to continue as well for this application to the October 28th meeting.
And is the, that's the one that was continued previously, and I think that we had it heard partially before this board?
That's correct, yeah. The board continued it during the meeting itself.
I recall this was the one where they shed, and you had asked them to go get more information,
Right.
and you allowed a continuance, so they're asking for another one.
One of the board,
Motion we continue. Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Ma'am, well, if you let us finish, we'll go ahead.
Actually, I will let Mr. Carpenter come address the third item.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The county is requesting that item number 11, the appeal of Director Determination 21-000014, be continued to the next ZBA meeting. The reason for this particular request is we are very close to a settlement of this particular issue, and we feel like the settlement would be in the best interest of the public and the county, and that is our request. I think the applicant's representative is here also, and I believe they will concur in this request.
Thank you. Sir, if you want to.
Burgess, good afternoon, members of the board. I'll be heard briefly on the request for a continuance. I'm an affected property owner, local residence, local attorney.
I don't,
Can you wait, is a respondent here, or is there nobody from the applicant, I'm sorry? Oh, I haven't seen her. All right, well, all right, just 1 second, we want to hear from the requester, and then. So are there any others while we're in a holding pattern? Not necessarily that case, but any of the other cases where the applicant would wish to have a continuance considered by this board based on the fact that there's either whatever reason, but also based on the fact there's only 4 members here tonight? Okay, I saw you first, and then, hold on 1 second, ma'am. Go ahead. Come on up. And what case are you here on, sir?
okay.
The Botanic Miramar Beach conditional use?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what's your request, sir?
We'd like to continue into the next meeting, the 28th.
Okay. State your name, sir, for the record.
My name is Fred Hazel.
Okay. And you were the, what's staff's take on the continuance request?
Yeah, that was the basis for the request, based
Okay.
upon the...
Okay. And just so everybody knows, I mean, there's no guarantee you will have 7 members or we'll only have 5
Understand.
next time, but
Understood.
generally speaking, this board is, in this situation, will allow continuances based on this type of situation.
Very good.
All right, so does the board wish to consider the request for number 10?
Make a motion we continue. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that'll be continued to the October meeting, sir.
Thank you very much.
So anybody here on number 10, there was a request to continue that, and it was granted. That'll be heard on October the 28th.
Okay.
Are there any others, ma'am? You had your hand raised? Okay, do you want to come on up? Which
Item,
there were some out there. Do you remember what the,
Lot 1 LaGrange Road.
sorry?
Construction.
C2 Construction. Number 6. And who are you, ma'am?
I'm the representative for C2 Construction.
What's your name?
Pamela Dixon, applicant.
Okay. And you're requesting a continuance to the October meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Is anybody here tonight on the number 6 C2 Construction LLC variance? All right. Board?
Do we have a motion?
Make a motion, we continue.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, ma'am, that'll be continued to the October meeting.
Thank you.
Is there any others before we go to number 11? Is Ms. Ward in here now? I thought
He's here.
I saw her. Yes, sir. Are you here on another? The person requested a continuance. This was the first time this case has came up. As Mr. Burgess indicated, because the Land Development Code provides that to get a variance or to overturn a decision, you must have at least 4 votes. So this board practice has been, when there's only 4 board members, to allow people to ask for a continuance. That way, they don't have to necessarily get a unanimous vote, and that was granted. So that matter will actually be heard on October 28th, same time, same place.
October 28th,
Yes, sir.
that will be discussed again, or what?
Well, that'll be the time for the matter to be heard. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. I see Ms. Ward's here. We're ready to discuss number 11. Staff, Ms. Ward, you weren't here, but staff had stated they were requesting a continuance in this matter. Said you as the applicant or appellant would agree with that?
Yes, Melissa Ward for Dunlap and Shipman, and we represent the appellant. And yeah, we agreed to the continuance as requested by staff.
Okay, and what's the basis for the continuance?
Well, the planning department had asked us to consider that consideration. We are in the process of discussing the issue.
Okay. Yeah, they mentioned that there was close to a settlement
Yes.
potentially. And then also, as you notice, there's 4 board members tonight.
Yes, so, yes, that would have been an unfortunate situation had we wanted to hear it this evening. We probably would have asked for a continuance anyway, with there only being 4 board members.
Okay. Now there, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back over to you if you want to hear from any of the public related to the continuance request.
Thank you. Yes, sir, we would be welcome any discussion of the continuance only.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess, members of the board. My name is Brian Montague. I live at 43 Chanel Court, which is in the subdivision that's adjacent to the development, or the would-be development that would be, that's the subject of this appeal. Together with others who are here, I was in attendance at the August Board of Adjustments meeting and learned at the meeting that there would be a continuance of that noticed meeting. And I learned of the request by the county to continue this one when Ms. Ward had published to various other interested local citizens and me that the county had requested this continuance. But we are here again to express our concerns with repeated continuances and the legal ramifications of that, and second, to express interest in the announcement this afternoon by Mr. Carpenter of that they are quote unquote near a settlement. It's certainly not a settlement of which neighboring property owners, at least this neighboring property owner, has any knowledge, and so I have great interest in what the content of that would be. But in addition to that, let me say that at some point when any administrative body repeatedly continues a matter, it risks stepping on the reasons for the notice requirement, which of course is due process. And when you notice a meeting in accordance with the requirements of due process, but you keep continuing it. And this lady in another matter had the same variety of question about some other repeatedly continued matter. You risk defeating the purpose of the notice requirement. So we would ask the board to consider whether due process is honored when an administrative body repeatedly continues a matter. And in addition, we observe that in the case of the Walton County Land Development Code, continuances are proper only insofar as they are quote-unquote necessary. Well, I don't know whether they're necessary or not. We don't know the details of the settlement to which Mr. Carpenter refers. We take for granted that, at least as far as the settlement is a product of communications between the county through him and the developer, certainly not communications to which we're privy, that necessity is honored by the settlement that they say will be achieved. We don't know anything about that. So whatever happens, we just wanted to register our concerns in both of those respects, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir, and I do share in your concern with that. I want to be sure that we're not confusing. If I'm not mistaken here, Ms. Ward is actually representing two projects tonight. The settlement, the reference to a settlement or being close to a settlement, I believe was on number 11.
And I apologize. That's the matter that I'm speaking concerning.
Item 11.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, Mr. Hayward, what is our policy on continuances as such? I don't.
That's at the board's discretion. As you know, this board has requested, people have come and thought they were prepared, didn't have surveys. This board's allowed for continuances. In this situation, it's been, from my understanding, as long as I've represented the board, a matter of course to at least allow applicants, when there's only 4 board members, to request a continuance due to the strict nature of the Land Development Code, which requires a minimum of 4 board members to affirmatively approve or overturn an administrative decision. So that's been a matter of course. Again, I've been representing this board going on probably 4 years, 5 years, and that was done from the very beginning when I started representing them. But as far as in the Land Development Code, there is nothing that says once you hit a magic number, you're not allowed any more continuances. So it does give this board some flexibility. And I know sometimes this board has said, look, if it's not, this is the last one and you need to be ready on this day, no more continuances. And that's obviously within this board's purview. If you decide to consider the continuance, you could say, be ready to go at the October meeting.
Okay. Well, I do share in both of your concerns. Speaking to the 2 members of the audience who did address that, we will take that into account. And if it doesn't happen for our next meeting, we will make a decision. Yes, sir. Only on the item number 11 at this point. So please step forward and state your name. And only concerning the aspect of continuance.
Okay, sir. Thank you. I will address that. My name is Anthony Gregorio, and I own property at 161 East Grove and the adjoining property which lies within 300 feet of the proposed development. I will also comment on lack of notice in this continuation. I received just 1 notice of the proposed development, and that was only after the county rescinded the previously issued director's determination letter. Had the county not rescinded that determination letter, this major development would have gone forward with 0 community input. And if that's all I'm allowed to say, I thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Anyone else concerning the aspect of continuance for item number 11? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Board. My name is Molly Kapliner. I, too, am a full-time resident in Walton County, District 5, and this is in regards to number 11 in the continuance. I was actually at the July meeting here when this was originally on the docket. I was also here last month when it was on the docket. And you see that I am present again this evening. I also attended the community meeting that was held. So we're now going on the 4th month of and the whole reason that this is in front of this board is because the county placed a major development order process. So it's something that the county decided to do, and we're still trying to decide whether we're going to do that or not, which is of grave concern to those of us who are citizens and own property in the nearby adjacent area. As well as I would just like to say that we also understand that when we hear a settlement is close to being done, that is of grave concern to citizens, and I'm sure you can understand that as you yourself are a citizen with the motto of preserving and protecting. Thank you.
Anyone else? Sir, please come forward and state your name for the record.
Mansell White, 182 Montgomery Street, Seagrove Beach. My question is just that we've talked about this word settlement. The simple thing I'd like to know is this proposed settlement or potential settlement, who are the parties involved?
To be quite honest, I don't know that any of us are really privy to that. And Mr. Carpenter, if you might address, thank you.
Two parties involved in this settlement are the planning director who issued the director's determination and the applicant, the property owner.
Okay. And I do believe it basically boils down to those two parties. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Anyone else on this particular subject matter? All right, motion to close discussion.
Motion to close.
Second. All in favor of granting the continuance? Aye.
Oh, we were just closing public discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did. Any discussion?
So did we do the vote to close any more public discussion?
No.
Okay, so what's the vote on that?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so now that the public discussion, now it's just for this board to decide. You have a request to continue. Does anyone wish to make a motion to continue this matter?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, item 11 is continued to the October meeting.
Thank you.
All right. I believe that brings us to item number 3. A request for conditional use, the Greer conditional use for RV. May I ask who's here to represent item number 3? Yes, you sit there and then one at a time approach the podium, please. All right, state your name for the record.
So my name is Mindy Gear, and we're here for 358 Coventry Road in or Defuniak.
Okay.
Before we begin, I need to swear everybody in.
Pardon me. For anyone who plans to speak on any of these item matters, please stand and be sworn.
Do you all swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
All right, please continue. Thank you.
I'm not sure what your question was. I'm sorry.
Well, tell us what you're asking for. And
We have, we're the property owners at 358 Coventry Road. It was a wooded lot we've cleared. Originally planned to put a mobile home on, still plan to. Having a little trouble with the mobile home mover.
all right.
So we have continued developing the property with a septic tank, a pole barn, just going forward. Recently got notice that our rental was sold, and the rental agency said It closes in 12 days. That was about 2 months ago. So we do not know how long we'll be available, our rental will be available. So we purchased a motor home to have to live in until we get our mobile home. So we're asking for a temporary electric service so that we will be able to live out there.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We'll have a chance to speak again here in a moment. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak concerning this application? And, pardon me, okay. May we hear from county staff?
Yes, thank you. If I could have the staff report entered into the record, please.
So entered.
Thank you. Staff has determined, based on the application, that the requirements of section 2.02.05D, the requirements for conditional use in the zoning district have been satisfied. The application is clearly for a temporary and/or seasonal use. They have the necessary infrastructure on site to treat their waste, both water and solid, and they do not intend to use this for any commercial purposes moving forward.
Fantastic. All right. Now, and pardon me for getting things out of order, but is there anyone in the audience that cares to speak concerning this application? Okay. Seeing none, is there anything further you care to add? No? Motion to close public discussion?
Motion to close. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion? Well, these are pretty routine.
Yeah.
I've seen them before. Okay, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations, you got your conditional use. Okay, that now brings us to item number 5, the Prestwood variance. And who may I ask would be here to represent the Prestwood variance? Please come forward.
How's everybody?
Very good, thank you.
I'm Brandon Kelly. I am representing, this is Frank Presswood and his daughter Christine. I'm representing their 144 Legion Park Loop. I'm a neighbor, I live across the street, and I'm the HOA president there in our neighborhood. So when this came up, I told him I'd help him out. So that's what I did. We're, looking to get a variance, a setback. So when Frank bought his house, he was unaware that his porch is on the property line. It is actually, I think I've got in his survey, it does show that the porch is on the property line, but it's supposed to be a 5-foot setback, and it's not, so it's right there on the line. When he bought the house, it was like that. It's been there, I think, for 16 years, 17 years, this porch has, and and no one said anything about it. No one's, complained about it or anything like that. So I've only been in the neighborhood for about 5 years personally, so, but no one said anything about it. So when the code enforcement came out, they said it was in violation of the 5-foot setback. So we were wanting to see, since it had been there for, 16 years, if it was okay if he kept his porch instead of having to tear it down.
Do you know how code enforcement was alerted to the situation?
Yes, a neighbor that lives behind the home. There's another home here. There were, I believe it was 4 homes that they called in to notify that they at first thought they were on their property, I believe, but it turned out that they weren't on the property. They were just on the property line or close to the property line and violating the setback. So that's how they were, someone called from behind. And I believe they're here, to speak on that, so.
All right. Okay, well, does everybody have a clear understanding of the situation?
What is has the HOA taken a position on this?
Yeah, the HOA thinks that and again, there's the other one is a Florida room. The HOA, it's been there the Florida room's been there for 21 years, and the porch has been there for 16 years. No one has said anything about it. It hasn't affected anyone. As a matter of fact, the lot that's right behind it has been heavily wooded for 20 years probably. I mean, heavily thick wooded. And I think about 2 years ago, I might be wrong on that, but it was cleared out and possibly to do something. And I do believe that the homeowners there have actually lived there for at least 2 or 3 years and have just now, when they cleared it out, noticed that, honestly, I think it started over something else. I think there was a tree that fell in another neighbor's yard or like some limbs, and there was a discussion. That was 3 houses down, and then it kind of escalated to involving everyone that was on the property, and they just wanted everything gone that was near the property line.
I see. All right. Well, if you take a seat, we'll get a chance to speak again.
Thanks.
And anyone from the audience care to speak on this particular, I'm sorry. Pardon me. I'm the vice chair. May we hear from county staff at this moment, please?
Yes, if I could have the staff report entered in the record, please.
So entered.
Thank you. Staff has determined based on the application that unless other evidence is presented to the contrary, the requested variance does not satisfy the minimum requirements of section 1.16.03 of the Land Development Code. The staff is aware that the structure has been there and was built by a previous owner and has been there for quite some time. And we are understanding and empathize with that. However, the code is clear. This does not satisfy those minimum hardship requirements.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions for staff? All right. All right. At this point, ma'am, I'm sorry. Please come forward. No, it was from the audience, yes. Well,
Basically, what Brandon said, it's the same, we moved there with the total agreements that we almost thought it was forest land behind us. And it's right on the property line, so whatever's happening within the other neighbors or the situation that's gone on, we just don't feel like we are in violation. I mean, the matter of the space is or at all. So
When did you guys purchase the property?
20, what was that year? 2017.
Real quick before you go on, just so we have a clear record, what's your name?
Christine Prestwood, I'm the owner of the house. That's my father, Frank Prestwood.
okay. We'll give you a moment or a chance to speak here again.
Sure.
If we can.
Thank you.
All right. Welcome. And ma'am, would you like to come forward and speak?
Hello, I'm Carmen Dupree and my husband Scott Dupree, and we are the owners of 168 Crest Drive. So we own about 1.5 acres back there, and we did clear it. When we bought the house, the realtor said, your property line comes right up here. But when we cleared it, we realized that there was not only the porch up to the line, but another home built without a permit, a Florida home or a sunroom. Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, we went to an attorney and they said, you realize if somebody falls out of that window, guess who they get to sue? So it sounds like he was pretty clear. Those are the rules and they're in violation, and we do oppose their variance request.
Okay. Sir?
I just made it back from Iraq to be able to be here for this. And there's a lot of other developments that have gone on adjacent to us that my understanding was neighboring lots had been wetlands.
Yeah, but that's
Something else another time too, but yes, if we were to, and we were planning to develop that wooded part once we had bought this property 4 years ago, we're concerned that if they're granted the variance, how would that affect us on our line?
Right.
Then we would have to even lose more of our property to our own setback to be in compliance.
No, sir, that would not be the case.
Really?
Yeah, your setback would.
So that means if they got the variance approved, what if we built right up there? And it was our understanding, we were told it's a safety reason. There are reasons you have these setback codes, correct?
Yes, we understand that, and that is true. And no, you would still, as in new construction, you would certainly have to abide by your setbacks that apply.
Okay.
But for conversation, that rear setback would be 15 feet.
5 feet.
Your rear setback would be 15 feet on your property, would it not?
No, I think
You have
it's only
platted setbacks of 5 feet for the
5
rear?
feet is, to my understanding, 5 feet. That's what we were told, yes. And same with them. The people in Legion Park Loop, they have 5 feet, and they're in violation of that. Also, it was my understanding, I spoke with someone in the county, and I said, I'm concerned I'm not going to be aware of this. They said they have to send you a variance. They know we live at 168 Crest. They never sent us any information. Also, they said, the county said they would post something where we could see it. There was one posting somebody happened to see because we were told we were not allowed to go into Legion Park Loop. I was told we could not go on that street. It was private. So how would we have ever have known about this? It was just a fluke that a friend of mine was walking her granddaughter and saw this sign in Legion Park. That was the only notification. She took a picture and said, are you aware of what's going on? I said, I had no idea. I never received anything in the mail, never received a knock on the door, never saw anything posted. I took pictures too. So I think that's just needs to be noted as well. Right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience? Okay, would the applicant care to readdress?
They were sent a notification. They were sent a certified letter, just like everyone else within 300 feet. They have a home in Texas. That's where it was sent. That's the address that we had on file that they printed out for us at the county. So it was sent to Texas. So they just, they're not there obviously, so they probably didn't get that. And I called before I posted the sign to double check because we're not in construction. I mean, we're just citizens here. I don't know the rules. I don't know everything. So I called to ask where I was supposed to place that sign. They said that I had to place it on the property, on the front of the property, and I have photos of that, which y'all do too. We posted it. It's in a neighborhood. We posted it at the front of the property. She lives behind the property. She is correct that she was told not to come onto our street. What she failed to tell you is that the sheriffs told her not to come onto our street because she had been harassing us about that property line. Okay, she called the sheriffs. The sheriffs came out. They spoke to us. They spoke to her. We do have a private neighborhood. It is a private road. She drove into the neighborhood, pointing at houses. You live here? Do you live here? Is this where you live? As she's on the phone with the sheriffs. It got a little heated. I mean, I understand she was upset. We were upset. So that's why she's technically not allowed to come into the neighborhood. So just some clarification on that. But
Kick my dog.
okay.
All right, now,
Sure, yeah, anyway. So that never happened, but there was a man out there with us the day, that I spoke with her, that she came over. So,
Can I send the video of what he did?
see what I'm dealing with.
It's
Ma'am,
not
guys, we're not here
applicable
to resolve those issues.
you.
We're here to resolve the variance request.
Thank you.
On or about what date was that? On or about how long ago?
I'm gonna say that was, I want to say July, maybe, August, or yeah, probably July. It was in July.
Okay, so that would make them well aware of this request in the meeting time.
Sure.
As of July. Okay.
So back to the actual the thing at hand, which is the porch. And the fun thing is y'all are going to get to do this again in about two more people. The porch is on the property line. If you came out and looked at what's behind that porch, there's no way on God's green earth they can build anything in that area. It is swamp. It is to your knees. You can't even stand in it. And it's always been that way. Again, it's been heavily wooded for years. And you couldn't even see past 2 or 3 trees through there. But again, neither here nor there. The porch is concrete. I mean, the setbacks for fire and, different, So basically what we're asking on what Mr. Frank's asking for is to not have to tear his back porch down. A fence can be put up there if it's, on that property line that's right there, which they still have room to do because it's right there. They could put the fence up. They wouldn't see them. They wouldn't see them. That is a solution. And that was a solution that I had brought up when we discussed it. And so, but yeah, everything else, we did everything that we were supposed to do by the county's instructions. So,
Okay,
thank you, ma'am.
all right. Yes, ma'am. Pardon me.
Have all of this on video, what he did to me, how he treated me. And first of all, he is under oath up here making several false statements. And that is so wrong. He took an oath. He raised his hand, said he would tell the truth. He's not telling the truth. But I do have a video clip that I'd like to send to whoever needs to make the decision.
Well,
Can I do that?
Don't know.
The decision's likely going to be made tonight.
Okay.
And again, it needs to be germane to the variance request. I mean, if something like that happened, that would be unfortunate, but this board
Right.
has no ability to police that or take any action. We can only deal with the request.
Okay, so in addition, so apparently he had called the police. Yes, I called the police because of the way he was treating me. It was very threatening. I won't get into all the detail, but it was quite awful. My husband's in Iraq, so I was there by myself. He had her and another guy with him.
Well, again,
But
folks,
not the
please.
Okay, she looked just like you, Christine. Okay, so Christine.
All right.
I got the wrong-
We're
Ladies,
Okay,
going to
listen,
keep
so-
this
just
to
you must, please, don't address each other, only address the board. Make sure
Correct.
it's related to the variance
Okay.
request.
Yes,
And-
so, all right. Now, when he came over and got in my face about, this is, his exact words were, "You're screwed because they're getting a variance. You are screwed." He must have said that over and over to me, in my face, "You're screwed. They're getting a variance." And to God, that's what he said to me. So,
Thank you. Anyone else care to readdress? Ma'am?
So we bought this house pretty much the same time that they did. If we would have known it was for sale for around the same price, we would have bought that property. We didn't. We actually did think that was wetlands behind us. And if we would have known we were under any variances, which it's not even a porch, it's a concrete that we have, I think we got in the misconstrued between the other family that got in, as you'll probably see eventually. We're on that line somehow, so we're directly behind them. We would have built, the reason we built a fence is so when they cleared everything, that we weren't staring at somebody else, but we, again, would have probably considered buying that property. So we don't like to have, with our neighbors, this is very, very tedious in our opinion. That's all I'd like to say.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
So, I'd like to speak to the property owner.
Which one? The one that's requesting the variance or the one?
Whoever signed the closing papers.
So the homeowners?
The applicant.
Okay.
The applicant.
Okay.
You can just.
So the
stand-
survey
sit
that's
there,
in
make
our
sure that
packet
mic's on.
is dated December 10th, 2014. Stated that you closed on the property in 2017, which means that the encroachment into the setback would have been noticed to you at closing because the survey was available. The structure was obviously built before you bought it, and I understand and I empathize with you, but that encroachment would have been noted to you at closing, and you had an opportunity to address and rectify that issue at closing.
We were not notified,
So you've never seen this survey before this was brought to your attention?
not until they brought it up.
Well, it was existing and you had access to it, or it wouldn't be in this packet.
Yeah,
So-
so when we bought it, it was not, I was with him when we bought it. As far as we're concerned, we weren't even, we thought it was more of a wetland.
Yeah.
And once again, it was it was labeled a vacation rental property. If we would have known it was for sale, we would have bought that property.
Right.
So we were not notified.
So was there another part of the house that was a porch that was enclosed, and then this was added on as a lean-to? Because,
Nothing, I think you might be getting it with the
no, I mean, I can see in the photographs that these are posts that extend above the plate line of the house. So it appears that it was constructed after
straight
the
above
fact.
the concrete porch, which is right on the line. We just put it, it was already there. All we did is put an awning across the top for the sunlight.
So you placed
The
the
only
structure
thing we
above.
did, it wasn't a structure. It was just a
Does it have a roof?
aluminum.
Does it have a roof?
It does, but everything else
So
was.
you're allowed to have pavers at grade up to the property line. There's
That's
nothing
what
wrong with
they
that.
are.
When you add columns and a roof,
We didn't add any columns.
well, there's posts that are holding up the,
They were already there. So they were already there, and all we did is add aluminum over.
when you did that, you violated the building code. So you
Whatever
can't,
you
you
know.
can't have that kind of structure in a high velocity wind zone, because I don't know, the building department needs to inspect that and verify that you have hurricane clips, that the foundation is adequate to support the roof. It could fly off in a storm and damage the neighbors' houses. And it is too close to the property line. And
Well,
so,
we were unaware of that.
yeah, I understand.
I mean, when we didn't have to sign any papers according to property lines when we,
Right, I mean,
Just-
you would,
just
you would
put
have
basically a
association
sundial.
documents that would prevent you from making improvements to the house without getting permission from the HOA.
I mean, however you like to look at it, but it was just a roof, that's the only thing that we built. So-
Okay.
And it's an aluminum roof.
Can I just,
Sure.
I was gonna say, if, sir, come up to the mic, please, thank you. I guess my question, if the roof that they put on there, the aluminum, if that is the issue, then they could just remove that, correct? And the column that held the roof, if the,
Column was already there.
okay, so
Yeah,
without tearing the porch, the concrete slab, which you said they can't have the concrete slab up to the,
my understanding that there's no violation to having a paver or a
Okay.
slab at grade
right,
up to the
right,
property
sure.
line.
And
we
that,
can
and that's
confirm
what's on
that
the
with
bottom.
County, but the covering that goes over it with
Right.
those posts
Sure.
are supporting it, therefore they are columns.
Okay.
They need to be anchored properly into the ground. The roof needs to be anchored properly to the house, into the
Sure.
columns. So, yeah, those are gonna need to come off.
Sure, yeah, so the solution, go ahead, Kristen.
Yeah, I mean, so we, the $8,000 we paid just for that part, not the columns, we needed, that's gonna make a difference for them to remove that. Is that correct? I mean, it's pretty secure. It's not,
Yeah, without a permit, you can't, you need a structural engineer is supposed to sign off on it, and
well, we might have, Dad, do you have documents of that, the structure?
I may say something, that's all part of the original structure, those posts.
Just,
One second. You want to speak, you need to come up to the microphone, announce your name, then.
My name is Thomas Palf, I'm a friend of the family's.
And were you sworn in earlier, sir?
No, sir.
I need to swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, sir, I do. The structure, when it was originally built, it had a upstairs deck that came off of the upstairs bedroom. So that structure, those posts have been there ever since that house was built 17 years ago. So I'm sure that there's hurricane straps. Otherwise, it wouldn't have passed code when they built it new. It was never an add-on. That's all.
Yeah, I'm going to go with, if it had been submitted with the original documents for permit, that it would not be allowed to encroach into the 5-foot setback. So at some point, that was added without the building department's knowledge. And
I guess what I'm trying to come to, and of course, you know, I'm a little separated from this. The people get a little upset about it. It's, you know, that's typical. It's going to happen. I'm trying to find out what's going to be the actual violation of the setback, because we talked about the concrete grade on the bottom is fine. So what would they need to remove? If they have to remove, would they need to remove just the awning that was put over there? And again, he did make a good point. If because that home, I've been there, like I said, 5 years, and they're the second homeowners that have been there. So the house has to keep going through home inspections. And you would think that a home inspector would say, hey, we got a serious problem here with this deck that's been here for 17 years. Or we got a serious problem with these posts and it's not. Now, I was unaware that if they put the roof on there, that I was also unaware of, so minus the roof, if everything else was a part of the actual structure, and it's passed, you know, inspection after inspection after inspection, wouldn't they have said something to them or brought that up to them?
I don't think home inspection report's relevant in this case. But I'd like to ask Stephen if he could answer your question about
Sure. About how can we resolve it?
what's considered to be in violation.
Yeah, and to speak to what you indicated earlier, anything at grade or less than 6 inches above grade can extend to the property line. But when anything goes above that, it is in violation.
Would the posts be considered in violation?
I believe so, yes. It would be part of the roof structure, or the balcony structure above, which
If they
is,
remove the roof and the posts, they would be in compliance.
yeah, I believe so.
Those are two different things.
So when I review these, I review for the variance. You know, it would, if this was submitted, a reviewer, another planner would review it. And if it was simply just a 6-inch or below at grade patio, it would be compliant. But if there was any, you know, other structures that had elevation and went up to a second story or a roof, it would be outside of approval. It would not be allowed.
Stephen, before you, go ahead. You're more important.
I think these are your notes. Are these your notes that it is a 5-foot rear setback?
Yeah,
in that
the
subdivision?
plat does have a reduced setback to 5 foot in the
Okay,
rear.
so that is correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
I forgot my question.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
All right, thank you, Stephen. All right. Anyone else care to address this? Okay.
Stephen, real quick, so the installation of the awning, would that have required a permit?
I believe so. Anything structural like that, you know, with the roof, that would be in addition to, I believe that would probably require some sort of building review, though I can't speak to that specifically. I believe my director would probably know more about that process.
So I see a head nodding from Mr. Carpenter. So if that was installed, they would have been required to get a permit, and that might have been resolved at the planning department to say, you can't do this.
I believe so, yes.
And to your knowledge, no permit's been applied for that?
It looks like it was constructed at about 2005, based on property appraiser data. So at that time, it would have been made to meet our setback requirements, especially considering that it was platted setbacks of 5 feet.
Okay. Sir, did you have something to add in the rear? Okay.
I was gonna also add that when this house specs were laid out and approved, second floor has French doors, sliding doors that go out onto a deck that was obviously going to be built. You're going to have some type of deck with sliding doors, otherwise you're going to fall out, right? That's common sense. With that being said, somebody within the zoning committee or planning committee would have to know and see this, that the bricks do go up to the property line. The poles are, per se, anchored in. There's a deck that comes onto the second floor. So whenever the architect went off of the maps, I think there might have been a grid wrong with some of the original lines. I don't know as much as Brandon knows about this, but if something was off within the property lines of the plats or the specs for the property lines, and that's what they went off of, there may have been something from right then that set everything off kilter.
Well,
You don't have anything to
We
show
don't have
proof
any.
of that, do you?
We may have, we can look it
Oh,
up.
but you don't have it here.
We don't, because we didn't think that would be part of we brought all the specs, but that from the original house, but that didn't even cross our mind that, I mean, we could also probably say that there are trees that cross our property line could be subjective to hurricane issues as well, that, because they're going way over a house if we wanted to, we're not like that, so we didn't even consider that,
Well,
so.
I believe that's not relevant to our particular
That's okay.
application
I'm
here at
just-
hand, and that is a civil matter. Looking at the survey and knowing the surveyor, I don't see really any problems with this plat or any potential ambiguities in the property lines that would have or could have existed then, now, or any time in between. But it does seem to be very consistent with the dimensions. Any rate, we'll take that into account. Thank you. Anyone else? Sir?
The last thing, so I know Stephen had said that, when he asked about the specs, he said, that this possibly is what this is, or this, they would have probably had to do this. Is there a way, just to move forward on this? Because obviously they're going to need to know moving forward what they need to, if something needs to come down or something should have been reinforced, or if they have to reapply for. Is there a way that they can get that information moving forward and they can actually get the answer, the actual answer, instead of, and I know obviously they don't have everything right in front of them, and I'm not, so I know that he, probably doesn't know right offhand. Maybe they do, but just to help them out moving forward. I mean, just as to what they need to take down, what needs to come down, what can stay, what could be redone, or vice versa.
I could speak to that during discussion, but I think
Okay.
we need to make a motion to
Sure.
close public discussion.
Is there anyone else for public discussion concerning this application? Seeing none, we have a motion to close public discussion.
Make a motion to close.
Second.
Motion to close, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion among staff.
Well, we need to make a motion to approve or deny.
Well, true. Do we have a motion here for approval or denial?
Make a motion to deny the variance.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Discussion.
So I think, given the survey that existed before they purchased the property that shows the encroachment, and their testimony that they put the roof on the structure after they purchased the home, there's also a considerable amount of space between the house and the property line on the west side where a porch could be built without encroaching into the setbacks. And then it looks to me, based on the photographs, that it would be very easy to remove the posts and the roof to be in compliance and resolve the dispute with the neighbors. And so my recommendation would be to bring it into compliance, and if there is an upper level sliding glass door, a balconette could be placed across that door so it's not a safety hazard. So it would just be a railing attached to the wall so that when you open the sliding glass door, somebody wouldn't fall out.
Correct.
That would be my suggestion to make this all go away. But I think that just because you bought it with the pre-existing condition doesn't make it less of a problem.
Anyone else? We have a motion and a second. Will we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to deny. All right, that brings us to item number 7. The sushi, or is it sushi? Sushi variance. And who would be here to present? You or Susie?
Yes.
Pardon me.
Fine.
And your name for the record, please.
Amy Susie.
Susie, okay. And what is it you're requesting?
I'm with that other group too. So it says on the thing 15, but it's like, he said I had a 5-foot setback and my Florida room goes 3 feet past that. So I think I have like and on this survey it says I have like 1.7 and then 1.5 between the Florida room and the edge of my property.
Okay. You're in the same subdivision.
Yeah.
And you're abutting the same property to the north.
Yeah, he lives right next to me,
Okay.
Frankton.
When did you purchase your house?
2019.
2019. Was the porch there?
Yes, it's been there for 20 years.
Okay. Anything else to add at the moment?
No, I didn't understand something about falling out a window, and I just wanted to say it is a 1-story if that matters. I don't know.
Okay.
That-
Your home is a 1-story home.
No, it's a 2-story home. The Florida room is the 1-story.
Well, you'll be given a chance to speak again here in a moment,
Okay.
if you don't mind. We'd like to hear from staff, please. Mr. Schoen?
Yes, if I could have the staff report entered into the record, please.
So entered.
Thank you. This is a very similar situation where this structure appears to have been built some time ago by a previous owner. It is unfortunately encroaching into the setbacks, and there does not appear to be any hardship or other circumstance meeting the minimum variance requirements of 1.16.03.
Okay. All right.
Any questions for staff?
Any further questions for staff?
Nope.
No? Okay, thank you, Stephen.
Can I ask Miss Susie a question?
The applicant, please, Ms. Susie.
You have a mortgage on the property. So this survey is dated 2003, so that encroachment was noted on the survey at the time of closing. Were you aware that there was an encroachment in the setback?
No, I never heard of the word setback until he came knocking on my door. I mean, because I had the survey and I'm looking at it now, but I didn't know it was a problem until then.
So I don't know, I think a title company would have some kind of obligation to make you aware of that. And so to close on a property that has clearly an encroachment into the setback without your knowledge.
Like, I don't know how she got it built to begin with, you know?
Yeah, and so it begins to raise some questions about whether or not that was in fact permitted, if it has an adequate foundation, if it's built to any meaningful standards. So you may be in better shape to remove it than to let it continue to be there.
I brought all my papers with me, so So hopefully there's something in there is what I was thinking. Like I brought my loan papers and all the papers that came with the house.
Well, I would request that you'd have something specific to add to that if you care to enter it into the record. We're not,
Like what would I be looking
Well,
for?
do you know if that structure is concrete block or wood frame?
It's concrete, yeah.
Concrete block.
do you have, well, we only have the one photo in our packet.
Oh, yeah, no, yes, that's
Okay.
it.
Did you have any others?
No, that about covers.
Okay.
That's the back of the fence goes to the back of the property, and then the Florida room.
That's in
And that's,
question.
and then the top picture is like the back wall of the Florida room.
Okay.
So you have, that fence is actually crossing the property line onto their property.
No, that's on our property line.
So according to the survey, the Florida room is 1.7 feet away from the property line. When I look at the picture of the fence, I can see 6-inch boards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 boards. So that's a 5-foot fence extending from your building into their property. So
That's going this way. It's going vertical with it. The,
bottom picture.
yeah, the bottom picture,
This picture here,
yeah.
so that's the back of the house. This is the structure encroaching into the setback. This is the additional fence crossing the property line.
Yeah, it goes this way, but then what you're counting, the 5 is going this way.
Well, I can see this
Can
fence.
I come up and?
Yeah, please.
Oh, it does have an angle in it, Jeff.
Yeah, it goes to like right here.
It turns.
Yeah, where it goes taller, that's where it's turning to come this way. So it's like these.
All these fence boards here that are shown coming off the back of the house go over into
Or
the-
these right here. Because I stood up on the.
Okay.
Right here, it comes down this way. And these are, this is.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Did you construct the fence? I'm
Yes,
just curious. Okay. And how long ago, roughly?
right when I bought the house, so 2
Okay.
years ago.
All right.
So you knew that the fence could only extend 18 inches to the property line when you built the fence?
No, I didn't want it to go, my parents live right here, and I wanted it to meet theirs, so they just kind of added on to their fence, but I didn't want to pay for it to go right behind my house whenever nobody was going to go back there, so I had to come up to meet the house.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, we'll give you a moment to return here in a minute. Anyone in the audience care to speak for or against? And state your name again for the record, please.
Yes, for the record, Carmen and Scott Dupree, the owners at 168 Crest Drive. You had asked the applicant if she was aware before she bought the house if the home was encroaching, and she said no. Under oath, her mom said to me, the first bank she went to denied her because of the way that, because of the encroachment. So I don't know if she went to a second or a third, but she said the first bank absolutely denied her. That's what her mother told me. The mother that lives right next to her. So just wanted to make that point.
Thank you.
Anyone other? Would you care to redirect or readdress? Ms. Susie, please come forward. I'm sorry, with the, that you haven't.
One, you don't have to go all the way back. You can sit at that table over there.
No, that's not. I had come out of a really bad divorce and had bad credit, and I could only go with like my friend who's a loan officer, so I only went to one person. I don't know what any of that is.
Okay. I'll take that into account. Anyone else? Seeing none?
I've got a question.
Okay, any questions?
In the notes here, it says screened-in room constructed into setback, but looking at the picture is stuccoed. So is it a screened-in room or is it
Yeah, no, actually it's not screened in. It's a full structure. It's got the windows and it's got insulation on the bottom part.
okay?
I think if I may just address that, I think that's in the comments from the pre-application meeting.
It is.
And I think that may have just been a misunderstanding during the conversation, that it was a screened room instead of what it is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
The home we're talking about that I was advised, even though it's on the first floor, if somebody falls out that window and lands on they would land on my property, that I would be liable for any injuries. So I just wanted to make that known.
Any other questions? Or anyone else in the audience care to speak? Seeing none, we have a motion to close public discussion.
I just asked Stephen one more.
Certainly, please, by all means.
Did you double check that the permit that was pulled for this property?
It appears through property appraiser data that it was constructed in 2000. There was not record of a permit being pulled for it.
For the house at all?
For the house? No, I did not look at the house. Unfortunately, that would have been a good idea, but I did not do that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Make a motion to close public discussion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Discussion. Or do we have a motion for discussions? Pardon me.
Make a motion to deny the variance.
We have a second? I'll second for discussion. We have for discussion, we have a motion to deny and a second. I think we do have a problem here. Mr. Huggins, do you care to?
Well, I
elaborate on the
just think
motion?
it's very unfortunate, the situation. I feel for everybody here. It is not compliant with the setbacks, and I don't think it's really, I hate that you're caught with it, but I don't think it's fair to ask the board to correct it for you. I'm sorry, but that's just
What would the problem be?
Well, we don't.
Still on
we're
my property, I understand it
Public
needs a.
discussion's closed. This
Oh,
is
is that what that
discussion
is?
amongst
Okay.
our board members. All right, anyone?
I'll add that a point was made about fire separation, and the Florida Building Code does typically require a minimum of 5 feet in between structures, and so with these things being built right to the property line, that it does get a little bit tight, and I think there's an 18-inch roof overhang with a gutter, so I don't know if the roof actually encroaches over the property line or not. It appears that it probably does. survey is showing the corners of the building, and then the roof actually extends out beyond that, so.
Yeah, I remember him coming out there and we were double checking on that.
All right.
I think that there's a significant hardship in that this structure was not modified by the homeowner, and it does not sit on the property line. And it would have a pretty significant impact on the value, and there's no other room on the lot to add space to the house. I know in the context of the previous submittal that this would seem a pretty straightforward case, but I don't see it that way.
Follow. All right, we have a motion and a second. How do we vote? Motion to deny is what's on the table. Aye. Aye. I'm sorry, your variance request has been denied.
I didn't vote.
You
But
got to
does that-
vote.
I have to?
Yes, sir.
Can't abstain? Nay.
All right. So in this situation, there's been a request, the motion was made to deny. Unless somebody makes a motion to grant the variance and that carries by 4-0, which does not look like it's going to occur, then the variance would be denied. But I would ask, is there a motion to grant the variance by anyone on the board? Then the denial of the variance would stand.
Unfortunately, your variance has been denied. And you're going to have to maybe speak with the building department, planning and zoning, to see what rectification can be made. We can't, I'm not really in the position, we're not in the position to try to tell you what does or does not have to be modified.
Like, since the last people didn't go, sell it like this, because I can.
That's more a question for a real estate attorney. Okay, thank you. All right, that brings us to the next item. Is number 8, the Seacoast Estates LLC Variance. And who might be here to represent Seacoast Estates?
Good evening. Nolan Baker, Baker Engineers. I've got some plans here, if you don't mind me handing them out.
Okay. We enter this as Exhibit A, Mr. Dykes?
Excuse me. Yeah, applicant's Exhibit A.
Okay, thank you.
So we're here representing the developer for this project. It's located out there around Holly Lake in Defiant Springs. The property consists of approximately 204 acres and is on the rural village, which allows them to develop a rate of 2 units per acre, which could afford them up over 400 homes. But this developer wants to go with bigger lots and preserve some of the beauty around the lake. So we've come up with a master site plan to develop about 67 lots, which would comprise of 1 acre to about 4 acre lots.
How wide are those lots? How wide are those lots?
150 is probably the smallest width, and some of them go up to, several hundred feet in width. So, and some of them are like 1,000 feet deep. So, it just varies around the lake. So, going through the development order process and the issue come up with Martin Road access. As you can see, we've got 26 lots scheduled to go along Martin Road. These will be individual single-family residential lots. Code requires the code, the land development code says you can have up to 3 access points along that road to access the property. And that's what we're here today requesting a variance for that. In order to do so, we'd have to put a parallel road along there, and that would eat up more land, which would, push the houses closer to the lake, and not to mention the houses are on septic. Another challenge that we're running into is there's about 50 to 70 feet of fall from Martin Road down to the lake. So it's real steep terrain, so the most developable portion of these properties are right there on Martin Road, or nearest to it. So what we're trying to do is do shared driveways. As you can see in the area, the properties across the street there's about 19 or so across the street there. So it would be consistent with them and what's been developed in the neighborhood so far to date.
Okay.
So are there 4 curb cuts? Am I seeing that right?
On these handouts here,
Off of 331.
off of 331, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 off of 331
Saying you're only allowed to have 4 or 3 for the entire project.
on Martin Road.
So you can have 3 curb cuts on Martin Road.
That's right. Because ideally we don't, just a driveway for each residence, but, in talking with county staff and everybody, we thought that, sharing driveways would, be common to everybody's goal. And another issue that we're dealing with is Martin Road there. On the south side of it, there's 25 acres of stormwater that flows across Martin Road and flows down through the project area down to the lake. What the developer has agreed to do is, in this scenario, if this goes forward, we're putting a swell down around the lake to protect the lake, is to treat that water as well, in addition to our required treatment. That way you get a portion of Martin Road treated as well. We've got about 4,200 linear feet of road frontage there on Martin Road. And the driveways on average would be about 250 feet apart, whereas the code minimum for driveways is 50 feet.
Okay. All right.
May I ask a question?
Well, let's hear from staff, and then we'll go through with further discussion and questions, please. Mr. Schoen,
Yes, if I could have the staff report entered into the record, please.
So entered.
Thank you. Based on the application, staff has determined that there are some substantial topographic issues, as well as some unique circumstance with the stormwater requirements that would be necessitated, and that would already have to be treated off of the road, the right of way there, and then the additional right of way, and then considering placement of septic tanks. There is some unique circumstance here. Now it varies across the site, but overall there is hardship here that staff has found in the application.
All right. Thank you. Any questions for Stephen real quick? No? Okay, thank you, sir.
Hold on, Stephen. Maybe, you may not can answer, but I'll ask you this. On Caswell Road, that it's direction this map is south, I guess. It's on a series of lakes as well, with lots of lots. Do each one of those lots have curb cuts, access drives?
That I couldn't answer. I could tell you if it was before the current code, that they more than likely do, unless there was that requirement at the time.
Mr. Baker, would you be able to address that?
Sir, if you look at, I think it's your 3rd page in your package there, there's an overall aerial.
Yes.
And all those lots do have individual access to Caswell Road.
Okay.
Area, along with, some others in the area.
Okay.
Thank you. That was my question. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone in the audience care to speak concerning this particular application? Mr. Carpenter?
Mac Carpenter for the Planning Department. This is a unique situation. Public Works and the planning staff met with the applicant on more than one occasion to address this particular issue and to try to come up with a solution that would both meet the requirements of our existing land development code and address the topography and the opportunity to develop this property. Based on the topography, Public Works proposed that the shared driveway scenario as being something that would be acceptable to the county based on the topography, the length of that side of this particular development, and this unique circumstance. If you just look at the map, it looks like these lots are small and they're close together, but they really are not. I mean,
Yeah, we're at a scale.
drawing is a bit misleading, giving the size of the particular property and the shape of the lots. And when I saw it, I said, absolutely not, we can't do that. And then we sat down with the applicant and Public Works, looked at the traffic on this particular roadway, looked at the built environment down Caswell Road where everybody has their own driveway, and that's one of the things we're trying to prevent. As this area continues to develop, more homes are being built there, there's more traffic on Caswell Road, it comes out to this side also, back and forth. And that was their best suggestion, seek a variance to allow shared driveways in the number that are proposed, as opposed to what we would normally require them to do, and that would be to build a service road on their property to access all of those lots with not more than 3 connections on that side of the roadway. But given the topography of the drainage basin for this lake and the fact that there are a good 25 acres worth of stormwater that comes across the road and continues to travel down to this lake, the solution to beef up their stormwater plan a little bit to take this historical flow that's coming off of the highway, rather than creating additional impervious surface on their parcel to serve all those lots. It seemed to be the best idea to minimize the impervious surface, provide the shared driveways, so we couldn't allow everyone to have their own individual driveway, which from a real estate standpoint, a lot of people would rather have complete and unfettered access to their lot rather than having to share that. But we thought this would be a better solution for the public and for this particular development if they sought a variance for the shared driveways in the number that are being proposed.
Driveways are over 300 feet apart.
Yes, they're quite a ways apart, if you're unfamiliar with the area and you're just looking at that plan, they look like they're going to be right next to each other, but they really will not be. They'll be spaced out such that Public Works feels very comfortable that the necessary level of safety will be achieved with the design.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there not, because they are so long and deep, even if you did kind of a shared access drive, is there still not enough depth to get a house and septic?
Well, there appears to be plenty of depth. It's just the topography going down to the lake. We were trying to keep the houses and the septic tanks as far up the hill as possible to provide the maximum amount of treatment before it eventually reaches the lake.
Right. Mr. Baker, I have a quick clarification I might ask of you, please. Your plans show 1 inch equals 200. These being half-size sheets, would that effectively be 1 to 400 on these?
You'd have to go by the graphic scale because these
I'm sorry, that's true. All right, so it's looked like maybe a half an inch to 200 feet. So it's a little bit of, okay, so it's closer to maybe 1 inch equals 400 feet or a little less for what we're looking at. Okay.
So to address this question about the shared tees or whatever, we did look at that, but these lots are so wide, by the time you start doing that and you only got 3 of them to use, you basically have to build a road anyway, so you kind of defeat the whole purpose. You know, we did explore that option as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for either staff or the applicant? Anyone care to speak from the audience? Seeing none, do we have a motion to close public discussion?
Motion would close the public discussion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All right, public discussion closed. Do we have a motion here to make for the applicant?
I make a motion to approve the multiple curb cuts as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Yeah, go ahead.
It's remarkable that the county is in support of this issue, and there's no public dissent. So I think this is a good compromise being made by the developer.
Hardship of the property and topography.
Yeah, given the hardship of the property, and they've considered stormwater issues and septic tank issues. Glad to know that they're protecting the lake and that natural resource.
Well put. Okay. Anyone else care to add to discussion? We have a motion and a second. How do we vote?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Your variance is granted. Congratulations. Okay, that brings us to item number 9, key variance. Who might be here to represent and present key variance application?
Good evening, Stephanie Manning on behalf of James Key. I'm going to give you my best rendition of the story, and if you guys have any questions, I'll let you ask him, and he can correct me if I get anything wrong.
Isn't there a non-compete after you leave the planning staff that you can't represent?
I found out that it actually helps me. No. With that said, some of you guys I know are going to understand this problem right now, especially with the level of development, the problem getting surveyors and getting them on time. Long story short, Mr. Key started constructing his house up here on Sparkleberry Lane, just up the street, off of 331 in Freeport, but in the county. Very end of the road, he's down there, he's building away. He calls out the foundation guy, who I'm going to do my very best not to name names because everybody will know who it is. So they get the foundation, they're preparing. Mr. Key tells him multiple times, check, double check, triple check the setbacks and make sure we're at least a foot off the setbacks. So he gets it all stringed out. He calls him. He said, did you check, double check? Yes, sir, I'm a foot off. I guarantee you I'm a foot off the setbacks. So house gets built. He continues on, the foundation is completed. They continue on with framing. They're waiting on the surveyor to come out. He carries on with construction. We finally get the survey back. And lo and behold, they are a foot and a half inside the setback. So he calls up the foundation guy. He's like, you told me you measured. He said, well, by George, it's 6 foot. It was a 5-foot setback, and we're built at 6 and 6.5 feet. The problem was it was not a 5-foot setback. It was a 7.5 foot setback. So somewhere along the way, the foundation guy miscommunicated to his guys what the actual setback should have been. They thought because it was an old subdivision that it qualified for the 5-foot setbacks. The problem is this isn't under 10,000 square feet, so it does not qualify. Mr. Key was not aware that they had built, assuming it was a 5-foot, which is why they built him at 6 foot.
Okay.
And I will turn any further questions over to him so that he can clarify better.
Thank you, ma'am. Let's hear from planning staff. Mr. Schoen.
Yes, if I could have the staff report entered into the record, please.
So moved.
Thank you. Yeah, based on the application submitted, There appears to have been a construction and/or survey error. Unfortunately, the variance language of the Land Development Code does not speak to this, and there does not appear to be a hardship or special circumstance meeting the minimum standards for variance approval.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else care to speak? Mr. Key? If, okay.
Happened, I spent all my money and my house is sitting there, and I have cabinets. All my appliances are going to be delivered next week. They were all ordered 3 months ago. The survey was done. It was one of the worst days of my life. When I saw that it was inside the 5-foot variance, he thought, but the plan said 7.5, and I have a 100-foot wide lot, so I don't have any need to. I could put 3 houses in there and have room, but that 1 foot is.
When you were made aware of the situation, did you stop construction?
I was aware of it is when the survey said it, and I haven't been able to. No, I haven't done anything since then.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the house is completely dried in. The survey's dated July 24th.
Right. When did you make, and yes, ma'am.
I just want to point out there may be a delay on my behalf because he had contacted me to help him by the time we've done pre-app. By the time we missed the mark, I think one time by just a few days. So then I had to wait till the next agenda. Some of that is on me.
On the process.
It took that long.
And my main concern was, what activity has transpired since being put on notice.
Right.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Any questions for staff or the applicant from the board? Yeah, it's pretty.
Can we suggest that they push it back till the next meeting when there's more people here? Because I think that may have affected the previous applicant in a very negative way. The fact that you have 0 room for.
Excuse me, can we possibly request continuance to the next meeting since there's not 5 or more people here?
We've entered into discussion, Mr. Dykes. Can you advise us on that?
For his.
Yeah, there's not been a motion at this point, and y'all have not closed. So if you want to see if staff has any objection, otherwise, it'll be up to this board whether or not.
Okay. Folks at staff, would Planning and Development Services have any objection to a continuance?
No, considering the circumstances, staff would not have any objection to that.
Thank you. Well, if that's your request at this point, do we have a motion to continue?
Make a motion to continue.
I'll second. Any discussion? Well, that would still give us potentially 6, even 5, but it's still, I think, to the benefit. Well, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You grant your continuance to next meeting in October.
I think the delay is going to be in your favor.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, that now brings us to.
That's all on the agenda. I don't know if there's any minutes that need to be approved.
We do, I don't think we approved last month's minutes as part of this meeting yet. Do we have a motion to approve the August minutes?
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Did we-
Saying that that one is slam dunk?